Good evening, my name is Samantha Falk and I am a longtime YWCA volunteer and I will be your host tonight. On behalf of the YWCA, I am very pleased to welcome you to the 2022 Announcing the Nominees celebration in honor of International Women's Day. I am speaking to you today from my home on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I invite you to take a moment to acknowledge and reflect on whose land you are on this evening. Tonight, we celebrate the work and achievements of the 39th Annual Women of Distinction Awards nominees, 70 passionate and very dedicated women who have proven themselves as leaders in their fields. We are also recognizing 5 organizations nominated in the Outstanding Workplace category for their leadership in supporting the wellness and diverse needs of their employees. The YWCA believes that recognition can encourage those who are driving positive change to continue the good work they are doing, and it ensures that the impact they are making does not go unnoticed. It also inspires others to engage in their own communities. We know that for decades, women have been trailblazing, empowering, and inspiring, but have not always received public recognition for their efforts. This year, to honor women leaders and to celebrate our 125th anniversary, the YWCA will launch Reserve for Her. A statue base will be installed at the convention center that women can climb up on and take a photo. Reserve for Her is a statement on women's equality and women's place in history, and hopefully will spark conversation about lack of recognition for women's achievements in our public spaces. We are grateful to Rethink Canada and to Scotiabank for making this happen. I encourage you to head over to the Convention Centre to take your place on the statue base and inspire future generations of women and girls. Now I am very honored to introduce our next speaker, Judy Hess, Women of Distinction Alumni, Event Chair of this year's awards, and CEO of Copperleaf Technologies, Inc., who are sponsoring tonight's celebration. Over to you, Judy.
Thank you, Samantha. Good evening, and thank you everyone for joining us to celebrate these outstanding nominees. I am honored to once again be the event chair of the 2022 Women of Distinction Awards. Tonight is a special celebration in honor of International Women's Day. Since 1975, women's organizations and governments around the world have observed March 8th to celebrate women's achievements and to inspire future generations. Let us all come together today in the spirit of supporting a future that is bright, equal, safe, and rewarding. The Women of Distinction Awards began in 1984. Until that time, even though many women had made significant advancements in the workplace, few were publicly celebrated by the community. To date, we have celebrated more than 330 award recipients and more than 1,900 award nominees. Tonight, we celebrate all of their outstanding accomplishments. I would like to take a few minutes to share how I came to be involved with the YWCA and the Women of Distinction Awards. I first became connected with the Women of Distinction Awards in 2015 when I was a finalist for the Entrepreneur Award. And now I am chairing this event to bring an even greater focus to these inspiring women. As the CEO of Copperleaf for almost 14 years, I have seen firsthand that the women in our organization are capable of doing anything when given the chance. Our vision at Copperleaf is to transform how the world sees value. And seeing the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion has been a huge part of what has brought us success. I began my career in the technology sector 40 years ago. Back then, I was often the only woman in leadership, as well as the only woman at the table. We have come a long way since then, but we still have work to do. For example, 92% of Fortune 500 companies are led by men. And last year, Copperleaf was the only women-led tech company to go public on the Toronto Stock Exchange. We need to ensure that we continue to change that picture and make it easier for women to succeed and lead going forward. The women we are celebrating tonight are change makers. One of my heroes, writer and activist James Baldwin, said, "We are formed by what we see." So if we don't see women in leadership positions and don't celebrate it, women won't try to get into these positions, and we will miss out on our potential as a country, our potential as a province, and our potential to deliver the highest value within our own organizations. Because gender diversity does deliver. It has been proven time and time again. So how can we achieve this? Well, for starters, let's remove our unconscious bias against women in leadership. Let's ensure that our candidate pools for leadership positions are 50-50 female-male. And let's ensure that as women, we say yes when we have the opportunity to take a leading role in our organizations. Maybe now you're getting the idea as to why this celebration means so much to me. It is so important to honor the achievements of women and highlight these role models, to inspire all women to see the possibilities. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening and are inspired by all the remarkable women that will be announced shortly. At this time, I would like to welcome Michelle Singh, Interim CEO of YWCA Metro Vancouver.
Thank you, Judy. I am so pleased that you're joining us as event chair again this year. And what a year it has been. As we continue to live through the pandemic, we see time and again that we are stronger when we work together and strive for a common goal. At the YWCA, that goal is to support people in their pursuit of safety, well-being, equity, and justice. 2022 marks 125 years of serving our community. Over the last century and a quarter, the YWCA has continuously evolved to meet the changing needs of our community. In this spirit and in honor of our commitment to equity and inclusion, we recently updated our vision and mission. Our new vision is a just and equitable world for women, families, and allies, and our mission is to advance gender equity alongside women, families, two-spirit, and gender-diverse people through advocacy and integrated services that help support personal, collective, and economic well-being. Nowhere are the inequities in our society more evident than for Indigenous women and girls. And while we are proud of our past and excited for what the future holds, we also recognize Canada's colonial history and that the YWCA was established and operated during this time. The legacies of colonialism continue to be destructive for Indigenous peoples' education, culture, health, and economic opportunities. Advancing reconciliation is critical to building resilient, sustainable communities, and we are committed to actively decolonizing our policies, programs, and practices. The Women of Distinction Awards is one way we can honor and celebrate leaders who have dedicated their lives and careers to reconciliation. Leading up to our 125th anniversary, we launched the Next 125, a 5-year campaign with a goal to raise $12.5 million. We are thrilled that we have now raised $13.5 million, but the fundraising continues with our new YWCA Grange Street Capital campaign in Burnaby to build a 32-unit housing community for single mothers and children. I'd now like to share a video that showcases 2 amazing women connected to the YWCA. Meet Lindsay and Stella.
My dad took his own life when I was 6. I had trauma when I was a kid growing up, not from my close family, but other. I had bullying in high school, like lots of people get, and I wanted to fit in. I didn't feel okay with myself. Like I had no self-esteem, I had no self-worth. So I was in addiction since I was like in grade 9. And I struggled with that for a few years. And I struggled with like having unhealthy relationships And I got into a treatment center. I got pregnant when I was like, a month and a half clean off substances. So I went to a transition house for women fleeing abuse after I went to treatment because things got really rocky. And actually a friend of mine, her mom, told me about the YWCA housing.
I wasn't living a fulfilled life. I've always been, I would say, an extrovert. I had a good life, but I wasn't happy with my life, even though I had a good life. My home life was a mess because I was with someone, but I was a single mom. So I did everything for the kids. At the time, I didn't even think I was being emotionally abused because I thought to myself, it doesn't happen to people like me. I'm educated, I have a master's degree, I have a good job. But I was so unhappy. I was so stressed, mentally, emotionally. And then there was a series of events happening. And I was thinking, this is not the life I want for me and my kids. I don't want my son thinking that this is how women should be treated. And then so I started planning on leaving. So I was talking to my friends and looking for a way out. And I found that I could come here through the Express Entry, come to Canada as a professional. And so I applied. And one night, my ex came back and he went through my son's iPad and he could see, because the iPad was linked to my phone, and he saw a screenshot of maybe a message from me to my friend saying this how far I'd gone, and I just got some information I was going to leave, and he woke me up at about 1 a.m. and he said, we need to talk. I need to go through your phone. And he said, I'm going to smash this phone now. Everything you own comes from me. I own everything. So I took the house phone and I just said, I'm just going to call the cops now. And he said, you're threatening me? And I was like, no, you're threatening me. I need you to, and then he, again, his M55, his 6'2" or 6'3". So he took the phone from me and he smashed the phone. And I think at that point, just watching the kids see that, and I was really scared for my life, and because people, you don't know what people will do when they're enraged.
I remember, I'd always check the YWCA website, and I remember finding out that there was an apartment building being built in North Vancouver. It was totally God in the moment, and it was just like that voice that it's like, check the YWCA website today. And I checked the YWCA website, and it makes me emotional. I checked the YWCA website, and it said that they were opening, they had the new application opening or whatever for it. And I saw it and I was like, oh my God. So I applied right away. And then to hear that I got it, it was like, I couldn't believe that, I got to have this experience for my daughter, because I know how important the first few years of a kid's life are. If I didn't have the YWCA housing, I would be bouncing from place to place to place. I couldn't afford it. I probably would have ended up in another abusive relationship because I couldn't afford to live on my own. It made it so I could work on myself, that I could get my self-esteem and self-worth and go to school and get the counseling that I needed to be the person that I wanted to be. It made me feel like I could breathe.
I connected with the YWCA in 2018 November when I moved here. I went to drop off my son at school. I have 2 boys. There's a Strong Start program there. So I was just talking to another mom. And so I told her I just moved. And she said, okay, have you heard of the YWCA? And I said, no, what is it? And she said, well, I know there is a support group for single moms. I think that might benefit you. Being at the group at the time, I went in there and I wanted to be open, and I think it's the best thing that happened to me. I had no one else to talk to, and they just knew. It was, everybody there just understood.
I love connecting with people who are struggling, and my hopes and plans for the future is to have a permanent job and helping moms who are struggling and families who are struggling, because I went through it, and a lot of people judge you and they don't you know, you did that to yourself. You don't need help. Like, why would I help you? So the YWCA, like, my experience was, there was no judgment. It didn't matter my background, where I came from. Like, they're there to love and support me and my daughter. And I want to be able to, like, be that person that maybe that people don't have a person in their corner that they can lean on, or just know that you're not alone.
My plan for the future is to continue to grow in my career, and I want to be somewhere in the very near future a donor. I want to support the YWCA. I want to impact lives the way they have impacted on my own life. So I would like to support in whatever way I can. There's so many programs out there. I know, there's from helping single moms access resources for going back to school, like education, to career advice, to housing. There's so many ways you can help. There's so many women who need help out there.
The Women of Distinction Awards is only possible with the support of our sponsors and volunteers. Thank you all so much for your contributions to this important event. I also want to recognize our nominations committee members, Amrita Agarwal, Grace Chu, Susan Darnard, Katie Hogg, Tanya Hook, Ashley Mitchell, and Sonia Nordman. Thank you for your hard work over the past 6 months. Finally, thank you, Scotiabank, our presenting sponsor since 2009. We're so grateful for your ongoing commitment to the YWCA as presenting sponsor and sponsorship of our Reserve for Her plinth that Samantha mentioned earlier. Now, on behalf of Scotiabank, Dana Martin, District Vice President, will share a few words.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm honored to be here virtually with you tonight on behalf of Scotiabank and to celebrate with you. Scotiabank is proud to be a long-standing partner of the YWCA Metro Vancouver and to support their unwavering commitment to help women and their families foster economic independence, build bright futures, and to work towards their goals and dreams. At Scotiabank, we believe inclusion makes us stronger. We are committed to building an inclusive culture for all of our customers and employees, and to continue pushing for progress. It is important to recognize and celebrate equality of voice, opinion, and contribution. It is critical to the success of our organization and our communities. That is why we are particularly excited to support the Reserve for Her project, and as always, so honored to be the presenting sponsor of the YWCA Women of Distinction Awards that recognizes the remarkable accomplishments of extraordinary women leaders and businesses. Each one of this year's nominees' selfless contributions make a difference in our lives and to the lives of those around us, and defines who we are as a community. Each one is an inspiration. We believe such power of recognition grants permission to those who are driving positive change to continue the good work they are doing, as it reaffirms the impact they are making matters and does not go unnoticed. Not only does it encourage them to continue, but it also encourages those around them to engage, and therefore the power of recognition creates a cycle of inspiration for future generations to come. On behalf of Scotiabank, congratulations to all of tonight's nominees, and thank you for everything that you do to enrich the communities where we all live, work, and play. Thank you also to the YWCA for the opportunity to support such vital work. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Dana. Without further ado, I am pleased to officially announce the 2022 Women of Distinction Awards nominees, starting with our Outstanding Workplace category, which recognizes workplaces and organizations that proactively support the success and advancement of women in the workplace.
In the Outstanding Workplace category, sponsored by SAP Labs Canada, the nominees are BCIT, led by a senior leadership team comprised of 70% women, is an organization of 50% women. Investing in employee recognition is a priority shown by their annual Employee Excellence Awards. Copperleaf champions representation and inclusion, having reached 50% representation from underrepresented groups in their board and leadership team, and with more than 35% of employees identifying as female. Hootsuite, working to build a diverse and inclusive culture, has revamped benefits to increase mental health coverage and culturally appropriate trauma counseling, and added coverage for fertility treatments and gender affirmation surgeries. RBC Royal Bank takes a purposeful, values and principle-led approach and sponsors employee resource groups, listening circles, and peer-to-peer mentorship. Women's representation on their board of directors has increased to 47%. Scotiabank is committed to its 4,000 employees in the BC and Yukon region and offers programs designed to improve workplace diversity and inclusiveness, overseen by an Inclusion Council. In the Environmental Sustainability category, sponsored by Nature's Path, the nominees are Yasmin Abraham is co-founder of Cambo Energy Group and the visionary behind Empower Me Division, a climate-focused program designed for and delivered by members of underserved communities. Dr. Andrea McNeil is founder and principal investigator of the UBC Planetary Healthcare Lab and one of the few global pioneers of healthcare sustainability. She is also an oncological surgeon at VGH. Marina Melanides is founder of Youth for Nature and also co-founded and co-directed Climate Guides to address the lack of opportunities for youth to meaningfully engage in climate action. Olivia Rescatello is Senior Director of Programs at Student Energy, a global nonprofit empowering young people to accelerate the sustainable energy transition. She pioneered their program's ecosystem and Student Energy Fellowship. Stephanie Baker is Vice President Construction and Interim CEO at Habitat. Stephanie Baker is Vice President Construction and Interim CEO at Habitat for Humanity Greater Vancouver, where she implemented an innovative housing model now shared countrywide while also exploring atypical developer partnerships. Donna Chang is Executive Director of Cedar Cottage Neighborhood House and was an early innovator of out-of-school care in Vancouver to provide an inclusive space for underserved children after school. CEO of Success, Queenie Chu works to empower people on their Canadian journey through services and advocacy that promote belonging, wellness, and independence, and leads programs like Action, Commitment, and Transformation. Angela Cook, Associate Deputy Minister for the Office responsible for housing construction standards and multiculturalism and anti-racism, champions shelter for all and is a tireless advocate for youth transitioning out of care. Former MP Libby Davies has advocated for women, the LGBTQ community, and the people of the downtown East Side for more than 40 years and currently sits on the board at Vancouver Community College. Jill Earthy is CEO of NBC, a strategic investment fund, and co-founded the Raise Collective for Women to access business capital in a way that meets their unique needs. Recently appointed CEO of Vantage Point and as former Executive Director of South Vancouver and Marpole Neighborhood Houses, Zara Esmail advocated for change in South Vancouver through anti-racism and social equity initiatives. Jillian Glennie is Associate Director of Development at Unity, where she created the Community Development Committee to support women with disabilities in becoming leaders in the community. Dr. Carmen Lansdowne is Executive Director of First United Church Community Ministry Society and First United Church Social Housing Society, and is leading a redevelopment project in the downtown East Side. Judith Law is CEO of Anxiety Canada and has curated programs and resources to help people self-manage anxiety, including a virtual group therapy program and an online psychoeducation program. Katie Manning is Director of Programs at KidSafe Project Society, where she oversaw the expansion of KidSafe programs from 9 to 17 sites over the COVID-19 pandemic. Lisa Martella is Executive Director of A Loving Spoonful and recently opened one of the largest commercial kitchens in the downtown East Side to provide free and subsidized meals to people. Salima Maji, Vice President and Chief Development Officer at Royal Columbian Hospital Foundation, started a new initiative within the South Asian community to fundraise for early detection and treatment of brain disorders. In the Arts, Culture, and Design category, sponsored by C-SPAN Shipyards, the nominees are Kristen Chung is Executive Director of Community Arts Council of Vancouver and co-founded The Future Is You and Me, a community mentorship program for women of color in the arts. Carla Mundy, singer, pianist, arranger, and choir leader, is founder and director of Song Roots, where she is building a community of musicians and music lovers who perform and appreciate world music. Crystal Parivu is an independent curator and art historian undertaking community building endeavors. She designed the Black Strathcona Resurgent Project and led CIRA, providing artistic opportunities to hundreds of BIPOC artists. Jessica Schellenberg is founder of Chorus and Clouds, a community-centered arts-based space for families to learn about child development in holistic and approachable ways through her own innovative programming. In the Community Champion category, sponsored by Pacific Blue Cross, the nominees are Founder and Executive Director of Vancouver Overdose Prevention Society, Sarah Blythe's advocacy and efforts have saved thousands of lives while creating a successful harm reduction model for Canada and abroad. Nora Flaherty, Inclusive Workforce Consultant for BC Partners in Workforce Innovation, has worked to assure individuals with disabilities have the best possible access to education, social services, employment, and social connectivity. Under her leadership as board chair, Nicole Geyer helped Take a Hike serve their largest graduation class ever while accelerating fundraising and committing to inclusion, decolonization, equity, and access. Jessie Corlahale is founder of Core Collective, a digital storytelling movement empowering Sikh women, Cores, to gather, deepen connections, and reclaim equitable faith spaces. Patience Magagala is co-founder and executive director of the Afro-Canadian Positive Network for HIV-positive people of African descent in Canada, and has built a network to end stigma around HIV. Amber Price, owner of The Bookman and passionate community changemaker through her business for 23 years, has launched the Chilliwack Mural Festival and helped found the Chilliwack Pride Society. Pam Robertson is board chair of Gibson's Community Building Society and has helped create the Gibson's Public Market and Nicholas Sontag Marine Education Center, attracting 100,000 visits a year. Lorelei Williams is founder and artistic director of the dance group Butterflies in Spirit, which empowers Indigenous women and raises awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous women across the country. Dr. Elizabeth Bryce is a leader and educator in infection prevention and control, a medical microbiologist. Dr. Elizabeth Bryce is a leader and educator in infection prevention and control, a medical microbiologist with Vancouver Coastal Health, and clinical professor in the Faculty of Medicine, UBC. Dr. Janessa Laskin is a medical oncologist at BC Cancer, clinical associate professor at UBC's Division of Medical Oncology, and she has brought cutting-edge genomics technologies to clinical research. A pioneer in computing science, Dr. Gail Murphy is Vice President, Research and Innovation, and a professor in the Department of Computer Science at UBC, and co-founder of Tasktop Technologies, Inc. For nearly 20 years, Sybil Negris, co-founder, president, and CEO of webnames.ca, has advocated to increase awareness and eliminate systemic barriers holding women back from pursuing and thriving in tech STEM. Dr. Jerry Lynn Pryor founded the Research Knowledge Sharing UBC Center for Menstrual Cycle and Ovulation Research, and has spent her career researching and discovering ways to improve the lives and health of women. As a medical oncologist with BC Cancer, Dr. Anna Tinker has been instrumental in increasing access to innovative and promising clinical trials for women in BC with gynecological cancers. Dr. Jennifer Marchbank is a professor in the Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies Department at SFU. Dr. Jennifer Marchbank is a professor in the Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies Department at SFU and co-founder of Youth for Change, an activist education group for LGBTQ2S+ youth. V. Victoria Schroff teaches animal law in her roles as instructor and adjunct professor at UBC Allard School of Law and Capilano University faculty member, and wrote the textbook Canadian Animal Law. Jaswinder Sodhi is a high school teacher at University Hill Secondary, where she places an emphasis on being a global citizen and established a U-Hill Girls Coding Club. As head of school at Fraser Academy, Maureen Steltman leads a strategic quest for excellence in education and remediation for students with dyslexia and language-based learning differences. Dr. Fiona Whittington Walsh is a faculty member in Kwantlen Polytechnic University's Department of Sociology and principal researcher for the Including All Citizens Project, a fully inclusive 4-credit university certificate program. Just Cakes Bake Shop and the Jar Bar founder Ravina Oberoi has her cake jars in 5 Fresh Street. Just Cakes Bake Shop and the Jar Bar founder Ravina Oberoi has her cake jars in 5 Fresh Street markets and with 13 wholesale partners, and opened Canada's first cake jar vending machine. Natasha Kettel, president of Happy Planet, is invigorating the company and is responsible for launching Earth's Own oat milk into the Canadian market when it was an unknown plant-based beverage. Dr. Gili Regev is co-founder and CEO of Sanitize, where she helped invent a breakthrough technology that uses nitric oxide to treat topical infections. Brandy Svensson is co-founder, CEO, and creative director at Be the Change Group, a certified B Corporation bringing together 3 interdisciplinary teams to address health, education, and climate issues. Dr. Charlene Gill is a BC Cancer Medical Oncologist, researcher, UBC. Dr. Charlene Gill is a BC Cancer Medical Oncologist, researcher, UBC Professor of Medicine, and President-elect of the Canadian Association of Medical Oncologists, and leader in the field of gastrointestinal malignancies. Cheyenne Johnson, Executive Director at the BC Centre on Substance Use, oversaw the development of BC's first clinical guidelines for treating opioid addiction and the training to support its implementation. As a pediatric infectious disease specialist at BC Women's and Children's Hospital, Dr. Laura Sauve's career focus is on the care of children experiencing social marginalization, especially those with HIV. Dr. Jacqueline Saw is VGH Interventional Cardiology Fellowship Program Director, UBC Clinical Professor, and a leader in the research, diagnosis, and care of spontaneous coronary artery dissection. Dr. Carolyn Shao is an anatomic pathologist who helped improve efficiency of the vaccine rollout during COVID-19 and improved lab turnaround times at Royal Columbian Hospital. Dr. Yanette Valdez Tejeda is the BC leader of COVID-19 resources, leads Vaccine Conversations, a program that addresses vaccine confidence, and founded Immunolatinx's, a web-based community linking immunologists from around the world. In the business and the professions category, the nominees are Gigi Chen Kuo is the General Counsel and Executive Vice President Corporate Services at TransLink, where she has dedicated her 28-year career to working for the public interest and advancing diversity and inclusion. Leslie Cliff, Genis Capital Management's co-founder and chair, and a fierce competitor, innovator, and leader in her pursuits, has grown Genis into a prominent B Corp with $2 billion in assets. Radha Kirpin is Bennett Jones Vancouver Managing Partner and National Leader, ESG Strategy and Solutions, and co-head of Environmental Law and Aboriginal Law, as well as Greater Vancouver Board of Trade Senior Vice Chair. Kim Dent Wilder, Mainframe Studios Executive Vice President, helped grow the workforce from 400 to 700 plus in the last year, and is leading an effort to analyze internal equity rates and trends. Devinder Gill is Regional Vice President, Business Financial Services at RBC, and the first South Asian and first female in BC to become a boarded executive in RBC's Business Financial Services. Salima Remtula, Vice President of Operations and Corporate Strategy at Leith Wheeler Investment Council, is an advocate for diversity and inclusion who has played a pivotal role in empowering junior employees. Jill Schnarr is Chief Social Innovation and Communications Officer at TELUS, where she launched the Pollinator Fund, Connections Women Network, and the Chloe Awards to recognize female leaders. Juggy Sahota is Vice President of Consumer Health at TELUS and introduced TELUS Health My Care, TELUS Health Companion, and over 1,000 on-demand healthy living titles for the TELUS Healthy Living Network. Nancy Wilhelm Morden, QC, is a lawyer with Race & Company and was Whistler's mayor, founder of Whistler Housing Society, Whistler Community Services Society, and the Community Foundation of Whistler. As president and CEO of Absolute Software, Christy Wyatt is delivering a cybersecurity transformation during the new work from anywhere era while propelling the company's growth and success. In the Reconciliation in Action category sponsored by Reciprocal Consulting, the nominees are Tracy Antoine is from Spucktaus in the Shuswap territory. She is Vice President, Indigenous Markets, BC Region at RBC, where her initiatives have made home ownership more accessible to people in Indigenous communities. Suel Chalat Shirley Hardman is a member of the Shwai Village, 60 Scoop survivor, and Senior Advisor on Indigenous Affairs at the University of the Fraser Valley, guiding indigenization and reconciliation work. Gorkit Jad is from Old Mahasset Village, Haida Gwaii, and is Indigenous Cultural Liaison at Rain City Housing and Support Society. She co-founded Walk for Justice and the Women's Memorial March. CEO and co-founder of Reconciliation Canada, a New Way Forward Society, Karen Joseph is a Musqueam to Swatanuk's visionary, whose leadership has significantly shaped reconciliation in Canada. Dr. Jennifer Kramer is a curator at the Museum of Anthropology and an associate professor of anthropology at UBC, where she collaborates with Indigenous leaders, elders, artists, and knowledge holders. Charlene Sanjenko from the Splatscene Band is founder and CEO of Powerhouse Impact Media Group, a company that amplifies the sacred work of changemakers, offering decolonized leadership and re-indigenized decision-making. In the Young Woman of Distinction category, sponsored by UBC Sauder School of Business, the nominees are Heba Husseina supports STEAM education for youth through her role as Surrey Program Coordinator for Science World's Future Science Leaders and is founder of Youth for Care supporting Surrey Memorials Hospital. Nikki Ovasi is Associate Director of Free Periods Canada Foundation, where she advocates for menstrual equity and co-led a project to promote reusable menstrual supplies at UBC. Stephanie Kwan, an electrical engineering undergraduate student at UBC, founded the Sprouts Initiative, a community organization focused on sustainability, accessibility, and community, and works collaboratively to create funded accessibility solutions. Vedanshi Vala is co-founder and executive director of Bolt Safety Society, which provides free access to safety tutorials and information on local services for survivors of violence and abuse.
Please join me in raising your glasses to an exemplary group of women and organizations. Congratulations, and thank you all for using your time, resources, and talents to make a significant difference in our community. Here's to you. Cheers. We have profiles of all of our Women of Distinction nominees on our website, so you can read all about them there. In addition to the category in which she was nominated, all individual nominees are also eligible for the Connecting the Community Award. This award was created by Scotiabank to raise awareness of YWCA Metro Vancouver's programs and to provide an opportunity for the nominees to be further recognized by the community. It is the only award where the recipient is determined through online voting. Each nominee submits a brief quote in support of a YWCA advocacy area, whether that's advancing gender equality, championing universal childcare, delivering affordable housing, supporting access to justice, or ending gender-based violence. The nominee with the most votes will receive the Connecting the Community Award. and Scotiabank will donate $10,000 to the YWCA advocacy area of focus that she chose in her honor. Voting is open now on the YWCA website and closes at noon on April 13th. I am excited to announce that tickets are now on sale for the in-person Women of Distinction Awards on Thursday, May 26th. Be sure to purchase your tickets by March 31st to guarantee early bird pricing. Now that concludes this evening's exciting nominees announcement. Thank you so much to Cop Relief once again for supporting the evening, and to Scotiabank, our presenting awards sponsor, and to all of you for joining us virtually. Enjoy the rest of your evening.